But I think it's a two-sided thing also. I think that I've read recently an op-ed in the Washington Post, which actually called the Democrats obstructionists. And there's a new book by Ronald Brownstein where he says that the majority party wants to obtain acquiescence rather than resulting in the actual cooperation of the minority party. So I think it's a double-edged sword. If the Democrats don't want to deliberate, then it doesn't occur.
Yeah, I want to get back to this idea. So should Senator Grassley have said, I'm going to ignore what I perceive to be the wishes of my constituents so we can try to achieve something that you would define as loyal opposition? Or, I mean, it's an interesting concept even in these things.
I don't necessarily think he should have ignored it, but there should just be that recognition that you can get mutual concessions if you simply compromise. Compromise is like the ideal thing. Loyal opposition should never be obstructionism. It should never be a rapid change of mind from wanting bipartisan to pulling the plug on grandma and seeing the efforts and condemning the efforts in that way.
I think it's all about civic responsibility. It's all about us going to the polls and voting for people that we think will compromise and people that want to sit down and people that want to talk. And if the entire nation as a whole is obstructionist and we're approaching it from that view, then we need to have more media outlets that show both sides of the situation and prevent this from occurring, and kind of have things like CNN Crossfire where we have two sides sitting down and debating with each other.
Thank you.
Okay, your prepared remarks were well organized. I think you defined your terms well, and this is one of these types of questions where definitions come into mind. I think with respect to your comparison between the British system and how ours is basically different by nature because of our constructs was effectively done. I probably would have liked to have seen a few more examples woven into the introductory remarks, but he came back with respect to responsiveness to questions, I think, by pulling out clearly your considerable reading on the topic. I think you did a good job in covering the material.
Yeah, I thought you had a very effective opening presentation. You made it clear to us how you were defining the terms and some of the different functions that this could serve in terms of educating, that we could be talking about individuals or parties in this. I thought you did an excellent job of thinking on your feet. The fun thing for us in judging on Monday is they're all good teams. We can throw curveballs and know that you can probably hit them. Again, as I've said maybe with your team when I've seen you before, it's more fun to be on this side, I'm sure, than it is on that side. But part of the fun is you are quite capable. You've thought about this, you've prepared it. I thought this was a particularly productive discussion. Interesting concepts. I think we've got at least some potential new jargon here. Constructive obstructionism. I plan to incorporate that as part of my vocabulary. I thought you made some interesting arguments about compromise that I suggest I'm probably not going to anticipate candidates out running elect me and I'll compromise more. But perhaps they should, because if you look at the polls of Senator Brown from Massachusetts of why people said they voted for him, they said exactly what you were talking about. We want him to go down there and get things done. And so it wasn't terribly surprising that he voted the way he did on the first vote, because he voted the way he did because of that's what people elected him to do. The question is, how can we package that in questions, at least for some people, or how we can package that in political campaigns. You're dealing with far more important issues of what this means for our overall governmental system, and you did an excellent job with that.
Well, I agree with my colleagues. I think this was definitely fun for us, but I also think there's no question in my mind with this group that it was fun for you. You're a very eager group with a lot of well-formed thoughts that you
That may not be a unanimous vote.
shared for us, but you know, I thought there were some really important responsive concepts in your presentation, both prepared and the question and answer, especially in helping us to try and find the line between loyal opposition and obstructionism. In your opening, I keyed on violence and illegal means as being one aspect of when that line gets crossed. And in the follow-up, I thought there was another important point that was made when you talked about Senator Grassley is a good example, and demagoguery is a good example, which is the use of misinformation. I mean, does anyone really believe that we're really trying to euthanize old people in this country? I mean, that's a part of the issue, is the opposition being legitimate in the information that they're sharing with the public. And so I was really pleased to see you all bring those concepts together in a very responsive way to the question. One thing I would urge you to think about in terms of the Constitution, beyond just conceptually, I think there's a lot of structural aspects of the Constitution that support the idea of loyal opposition. The bicameral legislature, the First Amendment we didn't get to talk about, but when I looked at this question, I thought, it'd be interesting to figure out how the First Amendment relates to this, and not just in relation to the politicians, which we spent a lot of time talking about here today, and I suppose that's appropriate because we're at the Congress's offices. But we've got the press out there, and we did have some discussion. What role does the press play? What role do non-political members of the public, not people who are part of a party, but people who are just interested in issues? What roles do they play? There's a lot to discuss here, and I know with this group we probably could have gone on all day, and I really appreciate the effort and the thoughtfulness that you brought to this, and I'm glad for America that you're going to be helping us make these decisions in the future. So thanks and congratulations.